It all started with a simple purchase. A small, secluded cabin just outside the jurisdiction of my neighborhood HOA. The property was peaceful, surrounded by trees and a lake, and, most importantly, completely outside the HOA's authority. I had done my due diligence. I double-checked the boundaries, the covenants, and even hired a surveyor to confirm everything. But HOA Karen and her board apparently didn't care about facts. Within 2 weeks of my move-in, I received a letter so absurd it almost made me laugh. A $30,000 fine. Their claim? That I was affecting neighborhood aesthetics, even though my cabin wasn't in their territory. The letter was dripping with threats of liens, legal action, and escalating enforcement measures. First, I tried reasoning. I sent emails, phone calls, and even a certified letter explaining that my property was outside their control. Karen replied with the same robotic nonsense, insisting that their authority somehow extended beyond legal boundaries. Every response I got was filled with insults masked as polite enforcement. When polite didn't work, I switched tactics. I filed a formal complaint with the county, hiring a lawyer to challenge the fine and the HOA's overreach. That's when things started getting interesting. The board members, Karen, her husband, and the other officers were suddenly very quiet. Their usual bravado disappeared when they realized they were being investigated for abuse of power, harassment, and filing baseless fines. They had no legal authority over my cabin, and the evidence was on my side. Survey maps, property deeds, and correspondence that showed their threats were completely illegitimate. The next phase was court. The hearing was packed. Neighbors whispered as Karen tried to present her case. She started with her usual theatrics, pointing fingers, claiming moral responsibility for community standards, and demanding respect for her position. But the judge wasn't impressed. When I presented my evidence, the survey maps, the deeds, and copies of every letter and email, they looked like a stack of harassment paperwork, not legal justification. The judge asked Karen a simple question. Do you have any jurisdiction over this property? Karen froze. Her entire argument collapsed in front of the courtroom. By the time the trial concluded, the court had ruled completely in my favor. The fine was invalidated. The HOA was ordered to pay my legal fees, and the board members were officially warned that any further attempts to enforce rules beyond their jurisdiction could result in criminal charges. It was poetic justice. After court, the neighborhood buzzed with news. Karen's legendary control over residents was gone. Her credibility was shattered, and whispers of the $30,000 fine fiasco became a cautionary tale for anyone who thought they could abuse HOA power. Even her most loyal followers began avoiding her, realizing that their president had overstepped in spectacular fashion. For me, the victory was more than legal, it was personal. It showed that even when powerful groups try to intimidate, facts, preparation, and persistence can turn the tables completely. My cabin remained peaceful, untouched by arbitrary rules, and the lake views were all mine to enjoy. Karen and her cronies might have thought they were untouchable, but their overreach landed them in court, and that's where true authority was enforced. By the law, not by threats, fines, or HOA intimidation. Sometimes you don't need to fight with fists. Sometimes the pen, the law, and patience are far more powerful weapons. And as Karen's board learned the hard way, abusing HOA power doesn't just fail, it backfires spectacularly.